Hello, everyone, and welcome to What's Your Story? We ran a little late today. Angie was having problems with her internet, and so we were running just a little bit late. So thanks for being patient and hanging in there with us. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you again for your support. I hope everyone is getting ready for fall and all that goes along with that. It's cooling off here in the Northwest a little bit. It was so hot last week, but now it's changing. So with change comes all good things, right? Um, if you want to know more about my guests, I would really love you to go to my website at www.kathybacon.com. I have been messing around and doing another website, kind of making it a smoother look, a more about the guests than about Kathy Bacon, because really What's Your Story is about the guests. It's not about me. So I've been really working on that, and I hope to launch that here in the next month or so. I think you'll be happy with what you see. I also want to tell you that I really, really appreciate all the support that you've given me with this show. I love your emails. I love getting emails from you. I love you posting things on Facebook about how much you love the show and love the guests and all of that. So I so much appreciate that. I cannot even begin to tell you. So today I want to tell you about a woman that I met quite a few years ago, and we've kept in touch, and she's just done amazing things in writing. Angie Fenimore is an international best-selling author with a big 5 publishers and has signed with several top literary agencies. She is also the facilitator of Calliope Writing Coach Writers Conferences, coaches private writing coaching. Better than 95% of Calliope participants receive manuscript submission requests from top agents and publishers. So if you've got that book that's not done laying around and you really want to get it out there, I would contact Angie. I really would. She's got a great website. She's got like a little program that you can get on and kind of go through what needs to be done. Calliope Writing Coaches for writers of every genre, at every skill level, and at every stage of manuscript completion. Angie loves that she gets to serve as midwife to important books and inspired new voices. And we are going to talk to her about everything that she's doing with Calliope. And she's a great coach, and she really knows what people need to do if they're going to be writing a book. It's not just sitting down and writing the words. There's a whole process to it that she really has down to a science. So I really want to welcome her this morning, and she's not feeling that good, but she is powering through like a trooper. So thank you so much for being here, Angie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Kathy.
I'm so happy to see you, and I'm embarrassed to say my own self, I signed up for that little program that you have so that I could kind of go through the steps. And I was
the
getting
online
reminders from Calliope. You have not finished. You have not finished. You have not finished, which is so great for me because I'm like, oh my God, Kathy, this is so bad. Like,
So we have been in pre-launch. Every episode is now recorded. All the content is curated, and we are editing the episodes. So they are bam, 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 coming out in the next few weeks.
It's so helpful. The unfortunate thing for me, and I don't know why this happened, I was all in, and when I was living in Thailand, I was writing every day, and I was really taking the time every day to write for at least an hour, and then on the weekends write, because I had the time and I didn't have any outside kind of stuff going on. But since I've landed in the States, I've done nothing. I'm going to be honest right now, because we're not sitting close by and you can't go, Kathy. So, yeah. So, but
that happens, and that's part of it, actually. Something that new writers really don't get at all, is that you must take your eyes off of your work too. It is as important to set something aside, and we call it letting it bake, is one of the ways that we refer to it. Um, because when you come back to it, you see new things. Because you just cannot pull from an empty well. You cannot. So I do have some hacks uh, that I teach my students to be able to create being creative at any time. But that's part of the process, is actually setting it aside. And you get a far better manuscript when you do that.
Okay, so this was meant to be, and I'm not giving up on it.
Oh, yeah.
I keep saying as soon as we quit going from house to house and we have our own place, I'll feel more settled, like I can do that. But tell us about your offerings, Angie, because you really offer a lot to the writer.
Yeah. So there's the online course. One of our goals is that it's really important to us to be able to provide for anybody, any genre, anybody who wants to write, to be able to provide for anybody, with regardless of what your pocketbook looks like too. So we do have just a wide range of opportunities to learn these skills that any human being can learn to write well. So there's the online course. We call that the Submission Possible series. And that came to be because we had always our students in our live flagship course, the Compel, Polish, Pitch, and Send Writers Conference. It's 3 days. They always would come to us and say, I want this online. I want this in DVD form. I want to be able to revisit this. And so my partner, who's also my husband, my business partner is my husband, and we were business partners first. He'd been telling me for a while. Yeah, he'd been saying it for a long time that we really need to do this. We really need to do this. Well, I had a lot on my plate. That's kind of how I roll anyway. And but it was when we had a course that we had a literary agent in who sent me the note. Where can I find this online? I want this on DVD. And then that was it. And then we did it. So it works actually as a companion to the live courses. It's the same pillars. We teach the same things. It's the same, and it's not what you're going to get at other writers' courses, because while we do teach you story structure, we do it effectively. We do teach you about world building and all those things, character development that you need to know. What we actually focus on at the beginning is the brain science behind the experience of failure and rejection, because that is the source of the problem for every book that doesn't get finished or doesn't get to publication, gets stopped somewhere along the way. It's more about our experience of like not being real good at it, frankly. And whenever you put yourself out there as a writer, once you start pitching that project, you're going to hear no's, because it's not going to be a match for everyone. And the average is most people who actually get to the point where they're pitching the project or querying will stop at 6. And almost every blockbuster bestseller that you know of is beyond 6, well beyond 6. And most are like 60 rejections, 100 rejections. So, when you deal with that, then you can also deal with the actual work, the manuscript, and not relate to yourself as a failure. It's about elevating the manuscript, elevating the storytelling, so you can really hear feedback. And then that book can become something that is really marketable and can be critically acclaimed.
When I signed up for that, and I started to go through it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to it than I even meets the eye that I thought. And, I know so many people that have written a book and then they have it on Amazon. And I'm thinking, well, this could be really easy. This could be easy for me to just go ahead and write. I don't want to say that I'm not a writer. I'm a deep thinker, and I have a hard time, like I've told you before, getting it from here to here. It's no problem from here to here. I can tell you my story all day long.
Right. Well, it's
but
kind
when
of
you
like
start looking at that and what you actually the process.
I could absolutely tell you how to remove an appendix. I could do that.
Right.
And I've not been to medical school. It is not something I would take on. And people tend to relate to writing like, oh, I'm just going to hammer it out and do this, do this, do this, blah, blah. There is a learning curve. There is actually a way to do it correctly and ways to, do it incorrectly, which is, a sad thing that has happened with self-publishing.
Yeah.
You can publish anything. So what has happened is this. Number one, the market is saturated. There were over 1 million books published in the US alone last year. And 10 years ago, it was about half that. And readership is about half what it was 10 years ago. So we have twice the number of books, half the number of readers, and anything's out there. Somebody that I am friends with online was Ray Bradbury's best friend, and he was also an editor. And he told me once that Ray Bradbury, before he passed, was appalled by what was happening in self-pub because anything can get out there. It doesn't go through all those eyes, and the truth of it is if you want to publish something that is going to reach a wide readership, it really needs to pass muster, number one, which is why I'm still a proponent of traditional publishing, is because you have all of those eyes on that project.
Right.
And they know what's going on with the market. They know what works in storytelling. So you get all these partners. So you really want to bring the quality, the level of what you're writing up to the level that an agent is going to be interested. That's what you're looking for. Even if you choose to self-publish. And if you're choosing to self-publish, you've got to have a platform. You've got to have an audience already. And, that's even true for traditional now too, is that agents and publishers are looking for people who have done a very good job branding and marketing themselves.
And that's really the key too, right? I mean, it's not just putting it, like some of the people that I've seen put their books on Amazon, they're selling for $9.98.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, that person put in so much time and effort and all of that, and it's selling for $9.98. Mm-hmm. We can say that we don't care about the money, we care about the story, but I'm telling you, when you start getting into it, like, everything that needs to be done to even self-publish, gosh, $9.98 is not very much.
So half of self-published authors make about $500.
Wow.
That's the average.
That's not
They make about $500. So that doesn't even come close to, your investment and even a little piece of it, even the cover design. And you have to do all that really well. But even like, there's so much that has to go into having a book be successful, whether or not you're self-publishing or traditional publishing. You have to actually do all the same things or both. The difference is traditional, there's the chance that you'll get an advance. You'll get paid.
Right.
And when you're self-publishing, you're out of pocket all of that, right? And I'm not saying don't self-publish. What I'm saying is there are definitely right ways to do it, and definitely wrong ways to do it. Most people do it incorrectly.
Right.
You don't realize that, oh wow, I can't just scrub up to go take out an appendix. There's a learning curve.
Right. And for me, it's kind of like, if I'm going to do this, I'm all in. Like, I've got to do it the right way, or what's the point for me? Mm-hmm. And not to say again that Amazon, self-publishing is wrong or anything like that.
Right.
But maybe after you publish one book, the other way, and self-publishing can be a lot easier, right?
Exactly. That's what I actually recommend is hybrid, being a hybrid author. So you start traditional because it's kind of like this too. If you publish a book and the sales, you don't make at least $10,000 in book sales, which is actually substantial. It's like getting a credit card, racking it up and not paying it. It never goes away. It's like a credit score that never resets. A publisher, agents, they can look up your sales in the future, and it works against you to have published and have low sales. So what you really want to do is get in with a smaller press. If you don't have a story that's marketable to the big five, get in with a smaller press. Do it right from the beginning, and then start to look at, hang on to, don't sign a contract that is a first right of refusal where you always have to go back to that publisher with everything that you do forevermore in the future. Have a literary attorney look at your contract before you sign it, because everything is up for negotiation before you sign that dotted line. And so you really want to look at this like a career. Even if your intention is just to write one book, you want to look at it like positioning yourself. You want to get educated. You want to, do things right the first time.
Right.
And then go out and self-publish after you've done the speaking tour and, grown your Twitter following to 100,000,
Right.
So that you've created a name for yourself, and then people will buy your books.
Well, you're an established writer. You've written
Yes.
some lovely books. How did you make that transition from writing to being a writing coach? I mean, are you still writing and coaching? Because I would say that would be, man, no wonder you're so busy.
I know, right? Yeah. So I went to this writers conference in Manhattan and pitched a book that I was working on at the time. Got bites from actually people that I still have relationships with now. Catherine Sands, the agent, wanted it. And then, I had Simon & Schuster, Random House, Macmillan wanted it. And so it was a successful trip. But at the same time, there were a lot of things about this conference that left me with the experience of being disempowered. Like, for one, where am I going to eat? I'm in New York. How even just the trip alone terrified me.
Right.
And so I was leaving the conference, and I'm pulling my suitcase behind me, walking down 46th Street, heading to Grand Central Station. And it's St. Patrick's Day. And there's this homeless man sitting there in his plaid pajamas, his full-on leprechaun beard, I'm telling you. And he says, you can't change the world, but you can change an idea. So I stop and I listen. And he's saying it to everybody who walks by. And so I get up on the sidewalk. I'm in the street. And I get up on the sidewalk and I argue with him. And I say, you can too change the world. Gandhi changed the world. Mother Teresa changed the world. Right. Martin Luther King changed the world. So did Steve Jobs even. He says, no, they changed an idea. And the world could do nothing less than follow suit. So we created an agreement right then and there. And his name was Christopher Lee Cottom, if you're listening. He had cardboard signed his way from Alaska. And we actually kept in touch until he didn't have that phone anymore. But it changed the way I thought and the way I viewed, because when I write, what I'm writing are books about changing ideas that change the world. I'm a humanitarian. It doesn't work for me that the world looks like it does. And, I'm a 20-year junkie, 25-year junkie of writers' conferences. And I hadn't been to one that I didn't leave in tears, except for that one. And with the experience of being on my own, and here you are, like, bearing your soul, sharing this book. And so I got tons of bites, and I was still just kind of, not in my element. And then there were people that didn't receive manuscript submission requests that had gone all that way. And they were too in New York from, Ohio and places a lot less, you know what I mean? Right, and so that was the beginning of it right there. Mm-hmm. And a good friend of mine, her name is Heather. She and I was doing HR. I ran the HR department for a restaurant chain, right? And we just looked at my skill set, and she said, you really need to be doing writing coaching. You need to be running courses, because I was also leading trainings for a company very much like Tony Robbins, where landmark worldwide and very effective, right? So I just put all that together, and like right out the gate, it was like, I'm going to take care of these people. I'm feeding them, number one. And I'm going to make sure that I know if they're gluten-free or if they're vegan or if they got to have licorice. And so it's completely catered with home cooked specific to dietary needs. And what I found immediately was that was critical to the learning process, actually.
It really is.
Yes, because if they could let go of their physical needs, their brains were not occupied with taking care of physical needs, which is one of the reasons that we're so effective. It's handling that brain science, looking at the brain science, and then teaching story structure that works. Like there's, all these theories about story structure. We go right to the one that every time blockbuster.
Right.
That's what we do.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, from what I've seen and what what I engaged in myself, it's just so well run, and it's so like, you don't leave any questions open. I mean, I was looking through all the stuff, and it's like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, why didn't I think of that? I would have never thought of that in writing and all of that. And that's just my little course that I signed up with. I haven't even been to a conference. So it's like, wow, I mean, you are really just putting it all out there for everyone to understand and get. And you know what? You are so right about what people, their surroundings, what they're eating and everything, and what they can take in and what they can't. It's just, I mean, I teach, so I know that it's the same for kids. If you don't feed a kid something in the morning that's going to get them out and about and engaging in school, they're sitting there like a bump on the log.
Exactly. And we're going to feed them what they want and what they like, what is actually going to occur as comforting, which is entirely different for different people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now we've just, I'm sorry, say that again, Kathy?
No, go ahead.
Oh, so we've just recently launched the Calliope Inner Circle, because what was missing was this in between. So I do private writing coaching. But what I've discovered is there's something about the group.
Yes, always.
Quicker in the group. And they don't have this experience of isolation. And when I tell them you're going eyes off in a group, they get that that's part of the program. Whereas if you say it to an individual, they don't hear it quite the same. And, the same thing with revision. You really need to revise something like 10 times before it's ready. And that's a minimum. And, really, that's a bare minimum. And so when you have a private client who's at 3 revisions, they don't get that they haven't even really done the work yet. But in the group, they do. And so it is amazing what is happening in that group. And so we have curated the content. It's all online. So you can we meet via Zoom. And so, which is, an internet, like video conferencing, right? And so you can be in Thailand. You can be Philadelphia. We have people from all over participating. And so now what we have is we have the courses that support you in getting your foot in the door and give you some yeses so that you're empowered. But now we also have the program. It's 6 months long instead of private coaching, which takes a year or more. And we have created layered accountability. It's very empowering. It's wonderful. I'm just so.
Well, I'm so happy for you, because this is something that you're very passionate about, and how has it fulfilled your purpose in life? I would always think of you as a writer, not a coach, but how lucky for all of us that someone that's done it, been there, heard yes, heard no, yes.
Right.
How has that, fulfilled your purpose to come back now and give us all this information? It must just feel so invigorating to be able to do that.
Yeah, there's this thing people say, and that is those who can't teach. You ever hear that?
Yes.
And I absolutely call BS on that.
Yeah.
It is so rewarding to, support people in carrying out messages that are important to me.
Right.
So, I could write 10, 12 books, maybe 20 books, the type of books that I write that are investigative nonfiction that take a long time. that require a lot of research, you know, or I can empower thousands and thousands. And so, here I am in my 50s and just now coming into this is what my life is for. Like I have the experience that this is what my life is for. This is why I'm on the planet.
Yes.
Is not just to write, because every writer has that experience. Once they really do finish a book, you really do have the experience that you're meant to do that, right? And so now it's just, wow, I'm so glad that I can write so I can do the thing that I'm meant to do, which is to teach.
It's funny, I often wonder why it comes to us. It was the same for me in my 50s. It's kind of like, okay, this is what I meant to do. So quit saying it's just a hobby. You love to interview. You love to connect with people. You love to travel. You love to teach. So what's the question? What's the question again?
I know.
So exactly. It's so wonderful when you come to that within your own, your own being. It makes life so much easier and so much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about some of the myths about getting a book to publication, because people are really, I'm crazy about that, going, oh gosh, that's not good enough, So tell us a little bit about that, Angie.
Well, we talked a little bit about like the actual stats of what's going on in the publishing world. Right. So, I would say one of the myths is just go self-pub that thing. You don't want to do that. You actually want to learn how to have it work and get coaching from somebody who's effective, who knows what they're doing. Right. Another myth is that certain people are born with talent and others aren't, and that you're just born a writer or you're not. Right. And I'm telling you, I have trained and developed people. It was the worst writing I'd seen ever in my life. And it's, being picked up by agents and book deals and, and very, very well written. Anybody can learn the skill of writing. And it's really, actually, you already have it. Mm-hmm. It's just that we train it out as we become social creatures. Like, pretty much when you go to kindergarten and you start realizing that there is this, tribe that you want to belong to, because by nature, we want to belong. That is from the get-go. Right. And I could talk on and on and on about that. But the point is, I think everybody gets that. If I say that, you get that. Yes. And so you start to start evaluating where your place is in this tribe. And you start to discover there's only one head cheerleader. There's only one quarterback. There's only one class clown. There's only one lead in the school play. So you're looking for your place, and part of finding your role actually cuts you off because you're also surviving this experience of the tribe. And so your creativity is shut down while you're putting these protections in place. This is how come kindergartners are so creative. And by the time you get to middle school, the teacher just has to ask a question, and nobody raises their hands. I know. Except the kids who developed the role of knowing everything because they watched somebody else fail. Right. And that was not going to happen to them, or they had an experience with it and they were never, ever, ever not going to get an A. Right. That was right. And still, that is still soul stealing. So really what you want to do is get the stuff out of the way that's in the way, the barriers, which opens up your ability to see and create and learn.
Yeah, because it's funny how we, we kind of listen to the outside voices that happen here. And, you're not good enough. You're not a writer. You're not an actor. You're not this. You're not this. You're not this. And quite frankly, from what I found, I'm 59 now. From what I found, we actually can do anything we put our mind to.
Yes. Anybody can.
Anybody can write. Like you said, so you might not be good at it at first, but then with coaching, with someone to mentor you, you can be anything you want.
Right.
And so.
Yes, with very clear directed actions. What's missing is taking information to action. Right. like one of the spaces in our brain that is the least, you know, used and that is in the most short supply is discipline,
Right.
productivity and discipline. It's like we'll get a million things done, but if you look at the quality of what you got done, you know, then you start to see, wow, it's not that I can't, it's that I'm just not. I'm just not
Right.
doing it.
I'm just not doing it because I'm
Mm,
listening to the other
yeah,
things going on back here saying I can't and I believe it, which is so ridiculous.
it is. Yeah.
But you know, that comes, I think, like you said, it kind of comes with age too. It's kind of like
Yeah.
when I was young, I believed it.
Yeah.
And then as I got older and really sort of saw the way things worked, I'm like, I did that and I didn't know how to do it. So how
Right.
did that work? You know?
And you know, another myth is that somehow you'll arrive someday and you won't have this experience of being a fraud. Let me tell you. Yeah, my husband Michael and I, we have a podcast, and we're very connected in the publishing world. And
Yes.
so and it's Calliope podcast, by the way, for writers, writing, everything writing. And so we interview lots of best-selling authors,
Oh,
lots
awesome.
of gurus and big dogs, Chris Brogan, John Lee Dumas, um, just on and on. And let me tell you, it never goes away, that experience of being a fraud, or
Yeah.
we call it imposter syndrome.
Right.
That's just kind of a human condition. And if you don't have that, you're one of the few.
Yeah. Right.
And it's not tied to your accomplishment.
Right. Right.
It's
Yeah.
just that's how that's just human beings. The stuff that we put together to, survive life.
Yeah. I mean, because people, you know, that I know that have actually self-published, I mean, I never even knew that they had the inkling or the desire to even write. And then, you know, I see so many now too popping up on Facebook, um, these writing courses and these writing things and
Mm-hmm.
these writing this, and I'll help you write this and I'll help you do that. And you know, people get so inundated by that all the time. I mean, like if I looked you up, say today on Facebook, all of a sudden on the side now, they'll start
Yes.
listing writing people. And I'm like,
I'm
I didn't
getting my own ads on Facebook. Facebook
good.
is feeding me my own ads on my phone when I play solitaire.
Good, good. Because it's kind of crazy. So the thing about it is like what makes, and I know this, but please tell everyone what Calliope Coaching really does to move that writer to the experience of really being an author.
So,
Because you do it very well.
yes. So the bottom line is that, once you start going to writers' conferences, when you get involved in the writing world, what you'll find over and over again is that you are going to get so much conflicting information.
Right.
And the way that it is delivered, this is fact.
Yeah.
You'll hear one editor say, memorize your pitch and deliver it to me. Absolutely every time. And that one editor will assume that is the way it should be done in the publishing world. And then another one that'll say, just come from the heart, shoot from the hip. You don't have to worry about getting it right. So the bottom line, what we're doing is we're looking at what is going to produce the best result, the most effective results. Right. So what we do is we look at what works for across the board, so that, which is why we're so effective with pitch conferences. We just had one where we had 20 participants in that conference, pitching to 5 agents, and over 70 manuscript submission requests came out of that course, which is unheard of. I don't even know of another conference that's that effective. But it's because we do that. We actually do this research, and we look at and we interview. We find out what works and what doesn't. And every time we lead a course, and we've led, I don't even know how many now, we are debriefing and we are talking to our faculty. We have a faculty of over 100 publishing professionals. And
Nice.
So here's a good example. Something that Dan Clark said. Dan Clark, he's written Chicken Soup for the Soul books, author of 34 books. He's a New York Times bestseller, #1 bestseller. He's Speaker Hall of Fame, one of the top 10 speakers in the world. And He says absolutely self-publish. Chris Progan, who is the granddaddy of blogging, says absolutely self-publish. You don't make any money unless you self-publish. So, and John Lee Dumas, who ran #6 Kickstarter. He's the Freedom Journal guy.
Okay.
On the EO Fire podcast, he is the guru in podcasting. So when I took what the three of them said, self-published, and I looked at the reality, and I'm comparing all the numbers, and I'm doing my research, here's what became very clear. If you are already speaking to thousands of people, and it's on your calendar 180 speaking engagements a year, if you already have the top podcast, if you are already sharing the stage with Gary Vaynerchuk, self-publish.
No, yeah, because you've already got an audience.
You have done the platform right. You have created an audience already. You absolutely should self-publish.
Yeah.
Right? And that does not apply to somebody who's writing, sci-fi fantasy. It just does not apply.
Right.
And then, if you're writing cowboy romance, you want to self-pub because there is a built-in market. And you want to hook up with other cowboy romance writers. Same thing with Renaissance, Regency romance. Sorry about that. Regency romance.
Yeah.
There's a market. So it's all about looking at all the data, bring it in. I love my science.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's good that you're not just shooting off the cuff about all this stuff because you've done it. You've actually done the research. You're able to give people options and say, look, you can do this if you're already doing that. You can do, Yeah. And so people
we do not work from opinion. We never work from opinion.
Right.
It's never just because I say so.
Right.
Ever. It's because it's been tested and tried. We've measured it.
Yeah.
And we don't ever launch a course that we don't, like Inner Circle has been in development for 2 years. Wow. And I spent 2 years developing it, a year testing it before I launched it, which is how come, even with this maiden voyage, it is off the charts. Because I've tested it, and I will take it back to the drawing board. I use the same principles that I teach. You want to look at elevating the work rather than taking it personal if something didn't work.
And you rely, what's really nice too, that, it's you teaching and it's you coaching, but then you have this whole 100 other people that are really supporting you and able to sort of help you and guide you and kind of be in this together like your own tribe.
Oh yeah, definitely.
People, which is
our last word,
really. And in a lot of coaching, like I've seen, it's like one person, she's written a book. Okay, I think that's great, and I'm so happy that she has. But for me, I'm kind of like you. I need all the ins and outs of the way that it's going to happen. I need to look at myself in it. What am I willing to do? How am I going to create that process? So that's what's so great about Calliope. And, I just don't know, people out there are always just like me. If you Google coaching or something on Facebook, you're getting all these people. And that's the thing that's so, to me, that I realize now. I used to get like inundated by that and go, oh my God, well, look at that person. Maybe I should sign up with them. How many of us do that?
Yeah.
And we don't do the homework. We don't do the work. We don't try to figure this out. So Calliope, tell us how someone can find you, and just like start taking the baby steps.
Certainly. So if you go to CalliopeWritingCoach.com, that's the website. And we have a masterclass. We're all about providing as much, free content as we can. We have a masterclass Saturday. It's 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 10 a.m. Pacific. So it makes it noon Central and 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And I'm not going to do any more math for you if you happen to be.
It's no problem.
You can go from there. But if you just go to CalliopeWritingCoach.com /webinar, and I don't like the word webinar because that implies that it's going to be a sales pitch. But we, at the end, we are going to tell you about what's coming and what you can do. But you're going to get a ton of value out of this. You're going to identify, your purpose for writing. Because when you go to the source, and that's what we do, is we actually go to the source rather than looking, assuming that one person's success happened because they took these steps. We're going to go to the source of success for all and apply that everywhere. So we're actually going to do that. We're going to look at the mistakes that writers make, the 4 top mistakes writers make, and then also the 5 top reasons to write that book. And when you can identify why you're writing, like for me, it's to provide. That's why I write. Then you know how to market yourself. You know how to set up that platform. You know better what steps you need to take to be effective and successful.
Right. So what books do you have in the works right now?
Oh my goodness. So I think the one that's coming out next is the Dandelion Principle or the Crybaby Files. They are neck and neck. I'm telling you, it's really just 2 more weeks of staying up all night. One or the other will be fun. And they're all in the genre of nonfiction. That is what I write. And but the Crybaby Files is, how do we change the world in the workplace? That is what they called my manual when they handed it to me. And it is a fun, hilarious, not serious read. It is hilarious. And then the Dandelion Principle is the follow-up to Beyond the Darkness, where, I know, finally, right? Yeah. Everything I've learned since.
Beyond the Darkness was such a good book. If any of you have if any of you have not read Beyond the Darkness by Angie Fenimore, go get it, because I'm telling you, it is so awe-inspiring. I'm not even going to give any of it away, except that it's a journey of self-discovery on this side and the other side.
Yes.
And it was, it's an amazing book. So I'm so excited you're writing a follow-up to that.
Yeah, it's been years in the making, but it wasn't time until now.
That is awesome. That's so great. It was such a great book. And that's how you and I met.
Thank you.
Yes. And it rings true in the world still today in so many avenues of what's happening in the world.
I know.
About themselves, how people give up. So it's such a great book. I really encourage all of you to find it online, read it. I'm not kidding. Angie Fenimore, Into the Darkness?
Beyond the Darkness.
Beyond the Darkness. And you will not be disappointed. You will not be disappointed. So that's,
you can actually go to my website at angiefenimore.com and you can pre-order the anniversary edition of that, which will
you can. Okay, well, I'll be there today. Yeah. And I will put all of this information about Angie, how to contact her. I'll put the Calliope website on there. I'll put where you can find her podcasts. I'll put everything on the website.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, because even the little thing that I got, just you telling your story, which of course I'm all about. I really loved hearing that, how your life got to this point. And I think that's how we connect with each other. That's where human connection comes from. And you're so wise to do it like that, because I was in just like that. Like as soon as you started telling me about you and that, you weren't always this wonderful author, right? So it's such a good, it's such a good program, and I've got to get through it. And I love the way Calliope keeps giving me these messages. You haven't been in for a while.
Does it? And that's in the back end. Yeah.
I know. I'm so sorry.
Good. I'm glad it's sending reminders. I didn't know that it did that.
It does. No, but I signed up to do that. Like you don't have to do it.
I have to worry about now.
No, you don't have to do it. I checked it.
Oh, good, good.
I checked it to have it do that for me, and then I'm like, I better uncheck it now because I'm embarrassed. So I went in now and I've unchecked it so it doesn't give me those.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I am
Oh,
not the tech wizard. Yeah, that's Michael's
no,
job.
but that's great. No, it's really, I mean, I have to say, I mean, I don't know what everyone else is doing out there to write their book or who they're working with or any of that. But I just, from the moment that I met you, I felt so comfortable in what I knew and didn't know
Hmm.
about writing. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important for someone that's venturing into it, telling their
Oh,
story,
good. Yes.
or
Hmm.
telling, or doing fiction, nonfiction, whatever they're going to do, is that you're not this person that's saying it has to be done this way and this way only. You're a listener, you're a writer, you're an observer. So to me, when I get to that point, I don't know anybody else I'm going to. I mean, I just don't know.
Oh,
So I really
I just want
appreciate.
to say, whatever else you're doing, you want to do this, and if you're doing nothing, you want to do this.
Right.
But a lot of our authors, they get really effective results then when they go to other conferences. We have one gal who she pitched to 10 agents and she got 10 submission requests at the San Francisco conference. That's the way it goes. So it's like a skill set that you learn that you can apply anywhere,
Because
not
writing
just
is
to write.
I mean, I had creative writing in school. I didn't just go to the class and they said, okay, go ahead and write. I mean, there was a
Hmm.
process to that whole
Yeah.
thing. Just like there is in being an author and being a writer. I love that you show that process to everyone so that they can really take that in and feel what that's going to be about for them and what that time looks like that they're going to give. And if they're serious about it, I guess you probably find out who's serious
Yeah.
and who's not
Yeah.
serious. I'm
It's an
sure it kind of,
investment for sure.
yeah, it is. It's definitely an investment. So, what else before we go do you see on the horizon?
Oh, on the horizon. Um, Definitely inner circle. I am growing this.
Good.
This is where it's at. This is the final piece that I've been curating and putting together, and it's replacing private writing coaching. It's so effective, and
Nice.
it's so much more affordable because it's not just me one on one, but then you can use there are three private interactions with me, if you get behind. So it's just the best of
And
both
this is all
worlds.
on your website, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if
And
anybody sees this, is watching this, if they can't
if
find it,
it's
they can connect with
not,
you.
yeah, if it's not, we'll be talking about this at the master class.
Awesome.
So even if you can't make that master class, register for it because then I can send you more information. Then I have your email address and I can send you the information about it.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you how great it is to see you always and how
Thank you
great it
so
is
much,
to
Kathy.
hear
Agreed.
about Calliope. I mean, it's really an amazing program for everyone. And I think, again, I know I love Angie, but I would encourage you all to just have a look, just go into her website, look around, see if it resonates with you. I mean, that's the whole thing, is if it
And I'm
resonates.
reachable. You can send me a contact request and I will definitely, it'll be me that I will be the one who emails you back.
Yeah. And as
Yeah.
you know, what's your story? Inspiration begins where your story ends. And I hope that all of you are inspired by Angie today and what she does and how she does it and how, just what she said, how accessible she is. And that to me means a lot in the world today. It's important that we all have that human connection. And that's why she's here today. I hope that you feel connected and I hope that you connect with her because she does have something to give and she's so authentic about it, which is really lovely. So thank you all for joining in today and thank you for being here. And I'll see you next week on What's Your Story Radio. Goodbye.